Coming to you this morning on a very sad day, skipping a lot of the normal formalities, if that's okay with you. 24 years ago today, the nation rallied after a devastating loss, the senseless killing of thousands of Americans. We promised to never forget, to never let the enemy win. And over the last 24 hours, thanks to open borders and anti-American propaganda, our nation has become more divided than ever. We've turned each other into the enemy, and many Americans now believe that America is the bad guy. She's not. Here's part of what we're dealing with. Listen.
Is America the greatest country in the world?
Absolutely not.
If you were offered a one-way ticket to leave the country, never come back, but it's all expenses paid, would you accept that offer?
I don't think that I would leave. I wouldn't leave either.
By the way, that video posted by Turning Point USA, the single most effective organization turning back the tide on college campuses ever, helping young people be proud to be Americans. But today we stand here in mourning not once but twice, not just for 9/11. We've got a live shot of the 9/11 memorial, by the way. You can put that up. Now we've lost the founder of Turning Point USA, my friend, my colleague, Charlie Kirk. Spent 31 years here on earth, dedicated to his belief and grounded in his faith in Christ. He defended them, empowered the next generation to do the same, giving them a community that shares those values. You see, Charlie created a movement out of inviting those who disagreed with him to put him to the test, to ask him the hard questions. But he didn't punish or brutalize those who would come to disagree, but he was murdered for his beliefs. Gunned down yesterday at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. About 1:20 local time, one shot rang out. It hit Charlie in the neck. I doubt he really ever knew what had happened. It was a devastating injury, and he did not survive. For me, and for literally millions of people today, having this conversation on 9/11 is a double gut punch. We loved this nation when the Twin Towers came down and the Pentagon was attacked and Flight 93 crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We came together as a nation then. But where are we 24 years later? When a kid who was 7 years old at the time of 9/11, who traveled to college campuses because he believed in America so deeply, he would talk to anyone. He would travel and talk to anyone and share conversations. Not to demean them, but in the hopes of convincing them there was a better way. That America was better than they were being told inside many of those classrooms. That the freedoms we enjoy here are unique to mankind. I think we wake up in a different America today. I think we wake up in America that's a little more gray because Charlie brought color and commentary and humor He also leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. Because from somewhere in the distance, hatred reached out. One bullet to kill a man of conviction. He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't attack anyone. He told the truth about his beliefs, and always saying he was nothing without Jesus. Charlie Kirk was murdered because he loved America. Charlie Kirk was murdered because he is and always will be an American. We've lost something great here today, my friends. My hope, my prayer here today is that we can build on Charlie's legacy. Plenty of anger out there. Plenty of anger and hurt. Plenty of all that. My prayer is that we can rise above that today. There's time for anger. There's time for accountability for the things said on social media and on reckless news networks. Plenty of time for that. And we will account and atone for that. But today, we're going to spend time talking about Charlie Kirk and the man that he was, and the American that he was, and the father that he was, and the husband that he was. That's how we're going to spend our time for the next 3 hours. We will reflect on the loss of 9/11 24 years ago and the profound loss of Charlie Kirk yesterday. We will celebrate his life. We will hold him up in the highest regard because he deserves nothing less. Gunned down at 31 years of age. The only news you have to know about that at this moment is that 2 people have been taken into custody, questioned, and released. The assassin, the coward that fired from the distance to take away the voice of a generation has not yet been caught. But he will. I have complete faith that he will be caught. And that justice will be served. But when we come back, the words of Charlie Kirk, the late, legendary Charlie Kirk. I'll take a break and be right back. You're looking live at New York City and the 9/11 memorial as the sun begins to come up in New York. 2,997 people died on 9/11. And we wake up this morning and mourning again, this time for Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, the voice of a generation. For anybody who might not know, Charlie Kirk was gunned down yesterday by an assassin's bullet. One shot fired from what we're told is about 200 yards in Orem, Utah. A devastating hit in the neck from which he was not to recover. So today we're going to spend time talking about Charlie. A man being remembered not just here but around the world. Not just here but around the world. Millions of Americans are in mourning today for this atrocious murder, this deep wound to the fabric of who we are. Benjamin Netanyahu weighing in, Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom. It's true. In Italy, Giorgia Meloni, shocked by the news. An atrocious murder, a deep wound for democracy and those who believe in freedom. My condolences to his family, to his loved ones, and to the American conservative community. No, not just the conservative community. To all Americans. I spoke to a couple of friends yesterday. Liberal friends. Not this rabid, socialist, hateful group, but liberals, Democrats, ordinary Americans, shocked, appalled by the assassination, heartbroken, really. Javier Milei in Argentina called Kirk a formidable disseminator of the ideas of freedom and a staunch defender of the West. From the UK, Keir Starmer, heartbreaking that a young family has been robbed of a father and a husband. We must all be free to debate openly and freely without fear. There can be no justification for political violence. And the list of world leaders goes on, weighing in. I promised you that you'd hear from Charlie today, and so we will. I want to start with Charlie defending his Christianity, because when he would have these debates on the road, he would take anyone, no matter their beliefs, often challenged by what he had to say. Listen to this.
Are you a Christian by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There is not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the
Anything in the Bible is possible and true. Charlie was deeply rooted in faith, in his belief in Christ, and the resurrection, of course. It's part of what took him from place to place. It's why he was fearless. I guess it's why he was vulnerable. He was approachable, always with that big smile. The way he treated me and my family. When I first met Charlie, a number of years ago now, at a Turning Point USA event, we had never met, and he saw me from a distance. And obviously, we've shared this platform on Real America's Voice and other places. And he beelined to me with that big grin on his face. Because he wanted to tell me what a great job I was doing. He wanted to tell me what a great job I was doing. As he had thousands of people in this room for a Turning Point USA event. As he had turned countless young people, not just to conservatism, but to Christ. He brought people across the aisle. He brought people into the light and the possibility of what their lives could be and what this country could be. An amazing communicator. The next comment I want to share with you here is something profound today, because Charlie said when we stop talking, that's when violence happens. Listen to this.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
When people stop talking, that's when civil war happens. That's why today we're talking about Charlie. There's plenty of anger and hurt, like I said. But for today, we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk, his legacy, and the goodness that he brought to this great country of ours as we reflect on the loss of 9/11 and the loss of Charlie Kirk. I'll be right back. Again, you're looking live at New York City, the 9/11 Memorial, Ground Zero. 24 years ago today, we were attacked in a way that left us stunned, brokenhearted. For many of us, that's the way the 10th of September is going to come to feel in years to come as well. Because an assassin, a coward, stood in the shadows and murdered the voice of a generation. That's what Charlie Kirk was, the voice of young people in America and beyond. And he knew it was dangerous. As you just heard him say, there were death threats routinely. But he thought the conversation, the future of America, was worth the risk. From the Oval Office last night, President Donald Trump talked about Charlie, and here's part of what he said.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
1 million Charlie Kirks today. 2 million Charlie Kirks today. 3 million. It's one of my hopes, one of my prayers for this day after the horrible events yesterday in Utah. That people are empowered with the courage to stand up, to speak up, to be heard, to be loud, to be proud, to be God-fearing Americans. Ivy joins me when I come back. A nation in mourning is where we are today. 24 years ago, 9/11. We'll talk a bit later about that. But yesterday, They murdered my friend. For being an American. I remember my children would ask me, you know Charlie Kirk? Yeah, I know Charlie. My daughter was a big fan. My son's a little younger, but he's become a fan. And the profound hurt and anger that people feel today, I think, is natural. Charlie Kirk went to college campuses to talk to people, not to attack them. But as you heard him say here, prophetically here a moment ago, he faced death threats. He was a target all the time, had been run out of restaurants and had things thrown at him. And yesterday cut down by a bullet at the age of 31. Ivy's with me this morning. It's been hard.
Good morning, Steve. Yeah, it was definitely a very shocking day yesterday to hear this firsthand from our network, our friends, and then to see the horrific images that occurred. You know, I remember not too long ago, it's around, I think it was inauguration, we took our family there to go and visit Washington, D.C. and celebrate in Trump's victory. And we had gone into the studio there in Washington, D.C., and our daughter, Charlie Kirk, was there, and he was live. And I just remember her like, oh my gosh, it's Charlie Kirk. And she's looking, and she's just super enthusiastic and excited to see him. And that is, I think, what he brought that sort of enthusiasm, his enthusiasm for life, for America, his enthusiasm about his faith. He brought that out in people, and especially young people in America. He captured the hearts and minds of the young people in America, and really with his movement, the TPUSA movement, it's that that young people and many, older, anything between, young and old.
Yeah, I'm not considered too young.
Stand for their faith.
To celebrate
that they are faithful people, to celebrate that they love America. And it's just so heartbreaking that he's gone. But I think now we have to carry the torch and remember that, like he said in the video clip that you played earlier, we have to talk to one another. This world that we live in behind these screens. And we forget that, hey, we are a community of people that are meant to have conversation and sometimes fierce debate. And that is what's necessary to live in a civil society, to then be able to leave that tough debate and then be able to shake hands and say, you know what, I didn't agree with everything that you said. Okay, we can agree to disagree, but we don't have to hate one another. And
we don't have to murder.
We don't have to murder
one another.
And it's very, very difficult to have to talk about. It's home, you being also a conservative commentator with very strong opinions.
We have to wonder, are we all targets today?
Certainly.
Were we all targets yesterday?
Right.
I mean, there's not anybody who sits in a position like this one who hasn't had the thought previously, would I be a target? Mm-hmm. If I said something that was offensive to somebody in some way, that they would come after me or my family. We've all thought it.
Right.
But to see it happen, to see Charlie gunned down in such a brutal and awful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually saw this bite, and and I want you to play it, Anthony, if you have it available.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
Charlie Kirk, thank you so much
You
for
guys
coming
do
on
a
the
great
air.
job. I wish
How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah,
I mean, if I die?
we got it.
Everything
there.
just goes away. How would you?
Courage for his faith. He'll be remembered for a lot of things, and I think that the president was right that they had. I can hear you talking, Anthony. Hold on. Your mic's open. Sorry. But I think he'll be remembered for a lot of things,
Yeah.
not just his faith. Anthony, I don't mind if your mic's open. I mean, you were calling me yesterday, too, being impacted. And Anthony's our live producer, been with us for a long time. We've known him since he was a kid. Not particularly political. I think yesterday changed that for you in a way.
I would say that yesterday was one of the most politically charged moments of my life. It was emotionally, it was hard to not feel so much anger. Also a lot of just sadness and honestly confusion, especially working in such an industry, where you see this sort of thing happening.
Yeah. Our daughter, same thing yesterday. Anger, sadness. If they thought they were going to silence Charlie Kirk by shooting him, by murdering him, and the grotesque things said by many on the left, and again, I'll leave that for tomorrow. That part of it. You did not silence Charlie Kirk. His voice will ring out. And thank God he put so much on video, because those videos will live on. Those will be the legacy, his teaching tools that will reach far beyond the grave. I believe.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think that is a natural feeling of, and myself feeling the same, shock, anger,
And
sadness.
deep hurt.
For
Deep
him
hurt.
and his family. He was a, young man.
2 young kids, yeah.
2 young kids.
We're going to leave it there for a second. We're going to take a break. We're celebrating the life of Charlie Kirk today on 9/11. As we reflect on these profound losses for America, we'll be right back. Hi, it's All right, live look as the sun comes up on the 9/11 memorial in New York City. 24 years on. And today I feel like we're being asked to mourn twice because we are. With the assassination of Charlie Kirk, here, let me just lay out the facts as we know them, that Charlie was at Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah, doing what he does best. Ivy and I had just saw him in person do this at Michigan State University earlier just a few weeks ago. And we're able to stand in there with him because, well, we're friends. And he'd come out and he'd meet people and he'd throw hats out and he'd throw shirts, and he was very festive, and we met him and talked to him behind the scenes there. And so that's what he was doing, and a single shot rang out. Hit Charlie in the neck, and he was fatally wounded. I guess the only saving grace from that, Ivy, is I doubt that he ever knew what had happened. It was over, I believe, in an instant. There were reports yesterday afternoon that he had been stabilized and that he was in critical condition. I don't believe any of those reports are accurate, having watched the video, and sadly the video was everywhere. The traumatizing video. Let's play a little bit more Charlie here for a moment. On the life and the way of life of America and how he sees it as being under attack. Listen.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. Time for the church to stand and rise up against that. Charlie was a voice unmatched on the world stage, not just the American stage, the world stage today, Ivy, because he would speak truth like that. He would speak in front of anyone. He was fearless.
Yeah, actually, when you were talking about the Michigan State visit, we had gone, we were getting ready to interview him, and my camera has an issue.
Yeah.
And he was so
accommodating
and caring, and it's fine, and here, join us outside. And, you think of moments like that. It's like I could have been standing in that tent with him, and you put yourself there, and you just can't imagine why.
We were standing next to him in a tent.
Why somebody would do this.
Yeah, we were standing next to him in the tent.
Yeah. Why somebody would go to this level of hatred, to rise to this level of hatred. He never attacked anyone personally. He attacked their ideas through debate, but he was never a violent person.
He attacked agendas,
yes.
Anti-American agendas,
Right.
Anti-Christian agendas.
Right.
He went after agendas and talking points.
Correct.
And he would take on anybody that would come. Let me give you one more here. Exposing a leftist student for not understanding the Constitution of the United States of America. Listen to this.
I was just going to ask if you see the irony in your own propaganda in the Constitution on your brainwash tour. Having the explanations here because you don't believe the reader is smart enough to understand the language is kind of propaganda.
Well, no. So do you know who that audience is for?
for people who can't read it.
Yeah, that's a constitution for third graders.
Yeah, why are you handing it out to college students?
Let's test your knowledge. Don't open it up.
Right.
What is the 10th Amendment? Okay, let's get easier. What's the 4th Amendment?
Isn't that the No Quartering Act?
No, that's the 3rd Amendment. How many articles are there in the U.S. Constitution?
There's 8 articles.
7.
7.
What is Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution?
I just want to ask
No,
you a
no,
question.
but I'm just saying, you came here guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
You do not know more than a 3rd grader about the U.S. Constitution.
If you don't see the article.
Yeah, I actually know it. You should keep it.
Yeah, you should keep it. You don't know more than a 3rd grader about the Constitution. Boy, is he right about that, by the way. How many people do you meet today? Oh, the Constitution says this or that. That's why I've always kept it right here. Mm-hmm. In this way, Charlie and I were kindred spirits, I suppose, because this thing's worn out. Mm-hmm. How many times do you see me pick this up during programs and say, wait a second, that's not what it says, and I read the passage. That's what he was so good at, the Constitution for 3rd graders, because people like that kid have no idea what's in the Constitution. Nothing.
Well, it guides our laws, our way of life, our, how our country was created, and the rights that we have as Americans. You would think that Americans would want to know this more deeply and closely in regards to their rights, because you need them in times where perhaps the government is having overreach or things like that, or people want to say, America is a bad place, or what, who knows what they're saying.
I liked his idea
unbelievable.
Of the American dream, to get married, to have a home, to have children that could ride their bikes till the sun went down.
Right.
Because you have a safe neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're fighting for here in America, the American dream. And I think he summed it up quite well. We're going to take a break here. Look, we're going to celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk. We're going to talk about 9/11 today. Obviously, bring up the live feed from New York City. You can see the memorial this morning as the sun comes up. 24 years on from September the 11th, 2001. And we're forced to mourn again the loss of Charlie Kirk, assassinated for being an American. I'll be right back. All right, still watching the sun come up, New York City on 9/11, 24 years on. I want to share the picture with the folks, Ivy, of when we were in the studios there at the Real America's Voice studios in Washington, D.C., also there with our friend John Solomon, who was the first to report the passing of Charlie yesterday. And you mentioned how excited our daughter was to meet him, and Charlie was so accommodating. He was so wonderful. He came out, hey, you guys want pictures? I'd love to take pictures. And we all crowded together, and you can see the picture there on the screen. Mm-hmm. And he was so enthusiastic about life, about what he did, about talking to people, about his faith and this country. And you can feel it as I sit here and look at that picture from a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And he gave people strength to stand for their convictions. And he, through his voice and through his community that he created, young people believe that they could really stand up and have these beliefs and not be shamed for them.
Yeah. And there's that beautiful day. We've got some video up of when you and I were with Charlie here at Michigan State University here just not that long ago. And here he comes out with this group of folks, and he's, just having a big time, and he's throwing hats. And it was like a celebration for young people. And I think that what has happened here by assassinating him, they have empowered more people to stand up in class and say, I don't believe what you're telling me there. They've empowered more people to say, that's not true. They've empowered more people to stand up and say, America is a great place. Charlie Kirk's life has empowered millions of people, young people and older people too. And there he is, throwing the hats right over your head.
I think it will be remembered as a day a sea change occurred, a massive awakening.
I think you're right.
Because people knew and they supported what he believed and were supportive of the mission. But now it is like concreted in this. I realize what we're fighting now.
They do realize what they're fighting. A celebration of Charlie Kirk's life and a reflection on 9/11, 24 years on. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, welcome back to it here. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a very dark day, I guess. We look back 24 years on 9/11 today. 2,997 people died. The Twin Towers, the Pentagon, Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But more shocking than that is the murder, the assassination of my friend, my colleague Charlie Kirk, who I had gotten to know over the last few years, who was warm and funny, and dedicated to America, and dedicated to his family, and dedicated to Jesus Christ. Cut down by an assassin's bullet at about 1:20 local time, Orem, Utah, Utah Valley University, on the 10th of September. Speaking from his chair, as he often did, to anybody that would come, talking to college kids, having conversations about anything they wanted to. They would challenge him on the Constitution, on Christianity, on America. And reprehensible today, I see people online celebrating his death. I can assure you, you are the minority today, a shrinking minority today. Anybody who is so dark of soul to cheer the death of somebody because you didn't agree with them. We'll get more into that. By the way, one quick side note. One of the dumbest things I heard yesterday was Matthew Dowd on MSNBC suggesting that Charlie Kirk had brought on his own assassination, and suggesting also that maybe it wasn't an assassination. Maybe it was a Charlie Kirk supporter firing off a gun in celebration that he was there. That's how far gone these people are. Rebecca Cutler, the president of MSNBC, releasing this statement a short while ago. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. He's been fired. I'm going to continue now with the life of Charlie Kirk. And don't think for a second we don't think about these things when you go out in public. When you do a job like this one, don't think we don't consider the possibility that we get targeted, that I get targeted, that people all over the conservative universe get targeted. Big names and small. You don't know who you're going to offend. I've done this for a long time now. You don't know who lays in wait. You can't hide your cell phone. You can't hide your address. You can protect yourself and do your best. I'm going to go to bite number 7 here, Anthony. This is Charlie Kirk defending his choice to not go to college by pointing out what a success Turning Point USA has been and what it has accomplished. Here he is.
Qualifications for arguing that college is a scam, or really having any economical knowledge at all, when likely the vast majority of the students here know more than you.
Who's Milton Friedman?
Who's Milton Friedman? I have no idea, and it's not important to this conversation.
Who is John Maynard Keynes?
Okay, obviously I know who Keynes is.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
He's the most famous economist of all time.
You don't know Milton Friedman?
I mean, that's an economist.
F.A. Hayek?
I don't know who that is.
You're right. I barely made it through community college because I was too busy, I don't know, starting a national youth movement with hundreds of thousands of members, raising hundreds of millions of dollars, having a top 10 most popular podcast, and reaching tens of millions of people online every day. I'm a job creator, entrepreneur, autodidact. Do you know what that word means? Yeah, self-taught. You know, you should probably learn that word if you're going to come up and insult other people's intelligence. So,
autodidact, nice word. He's right. If you don't know who Milton Friedman is, and you're saying they're bragging how much you know about the world of economics, and Keynes, of course he knows Keynes, the liberal leftist economist. Keynesian theory is garbage. How about socialism? How about Charlie Kirk on socialism? Let's go to the next one there, Anthony. Roll it out.
Is this cut 8?
Yes.
What socialism do you not like?
Like the 130 million people that died under socialism in the last 100 years. The fact that every country that engages in a socialist direction becomes less free, less prosperous.
Do you think that maybe there's like a middle ground where you can have a little bit of both?
Everything comes at a price. The states that are the most socialistic are the worst and hardest states to live in this country. California, New York, Illinois have the most people leaving. Highest taxes, most social benefits, most social welfare, and they're leaving for states that are freer with lower taxes and more economic freedom. So everything comes at a price.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Everything comes at a price. The voice of a generation, Charlie Kirk, dead at 31. You wonder where it goes from here, Turning Point USA. I do. Where does Turning Point USA go from here? There's not going to be a charismatic leader like Charlie Kirk to step into the void, but someone. Turning Point USA cannot be lost because he was felled by an assassin's bullet. Turning Point USA cannot be lost because of leftist political violence. Charlie Kirk's voice must be preserved for the ages, for he spoke the truth. You didn't have to like it, but a man can't be a woman, and a woman cannot be a man, no matter how much you wish it to be so. And it's comments like that that got him killed. And comments like that have people like me get targeted every single day. God bless Charlie Kirk for having the courage at a young age to stand up like so many patriots before him that served in places like Concord and Gettysburg and Midway. Thank God for the courage of young men who stood up for America when it mattered most. And that's what Charlie Kirk did. He stood up for America when it mattered most. And he paid the ultimate price. I think Charlie Kirk deserves a place in Arlington National Cemetery. That's just me. I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Well, here we are looking at the 9/11 memorial as dawn breaks on New York City 24 years later. And dawn breaks on an America different than it was 24 hours ago. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, gunned down, assassinated for being an American. That's really what it is. He was assassinated for being an American, for speaking his mind, for having convictions about what he believed about this country, about people, about Christ. Gunned down and maligned. I just mentioned the firing of Matthew Dowd at MSNBC, who suggested that Kirk was assassinated and it was his own fault. But he's not the only one. Ivy's back now. Ivy, you've been reading some things online, and not about that. I don't want to spend too much time. We will have plenty of time to sort this out and to hold MSNBC and CNN and Van Jones and all the rest accountable for their hateful words. But you've seen something, a trend of sorts, that you were just telling me about. Share, please.
Yeah, I'm online, have to surf the net all the time to find new information as things break. But I'm seeing a lot of folks who are posting about being lifelong Democrats, voted for Obama, voted for Biden, even have worked in PACs, things like that, raising money. And they said today they're going to register as Republicans. And you wonder, as I mentioned earlier, this sea change, how that's going to affect us in the future. I do believe that a majority of Americans do not, 100% do not agree with political violence, mourn the death of Charlie Kirk, because no one should be killed in cold-blooded murder that way. No one should have to face that, and what their family is going to have to endure. No one should have to do that. And so I think that a majority of Americans really do hate this type of thing when it occurs. And you kind of think back, you talked about this yesterday, to the beginning of this political violence that I can recall in most recent years, which was there was a practice happening for the baseball game, congressional baseball game. Even our own congressman here at the time, I believe it was Mike Bishop.
Yeah.
I recall him coming on the show and recounting that he was laying on the ground and he was hearing the tink, 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 tink of the bullets
hitting the chain link fence.
Hitting the chain link fence.
Right above his head.
And the only reason that all of those congressional members, the Republican side, survived that day was because Steve Scalise had his security team there with him. I mean, my God, imagine if they weren't there. And so you think about that being one moment in time where this political violence really started. And then years later and all the other things that have occurred. My God, just the woman that was stabbed on the subway the other day.
How about 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump?
2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. You just look at the violence that's happening in this country, and it makes
political violence.
Political violence.
The Catholic schools attacked by these transgender murderers. I mean, look, this is politically based violence. Yesterday was a political assassination. There is nothing else about it. It was a political assassination.
Yeah.
And the rhetoric. The day before this happened, Van Jones on CNN openly attacking Charlie Kirk specifically. Words have consequences.
Certainly.
But
I believe that Charlie Kirk's words will have consequences too, which is that he has created and he has millions of followers and will continue to have millions of followers who now feel that they need to carry the torch on for him. And that's what is going to occur in the future, in my opinion, that we now have millions of Charlie Kirks who are going to rise up and say, no, we're not going to tolerate this sort of rhetoric. We're going to continue to come to the table and talk to you and have debate, not through violence, but through
I will
words.
not fear. I cannot live in fear. I believe, look.
No, we don't.
I believe in this country. I believe in God.
Right.
I believe in the greatness of America,
yeah.
and I will not shy away from that.
Listen, our daughter yesterday asked you if, it's time for you to retire, Dad.
And she was serious.
Because she's scared.
For me.
She's afraid. And we have to be afraid? No, we shouldn't be afraid.
We have to be bold.
Just stand steadfast in our beliefs and our faith. And we will not be fearful. And we certainly aren't going to be doormats.
I will not be a doormat. And I believe in this country, and I believe in the greatness of America, and I believe in the promise of America. And I will not go quietly into that good night. I will not. I will stand with the voice and the conviction of Charlie Kirk, as I have for years.
And listen, the left is losing. They're losing.
And when the left loses, what do?
And they're losing the culture war, and then they resort to violence.
To assassination and murder. Look,
and listen, we have a lot of questions that need to be answered on what the political... We don't even have... This guy isn't even apprehended. The shooter isn't even apprehended.
I don't have to wonder. I don't have to wonder.
Which is scary. This guy is still out there. This person.
The killer is still on the loose. I have to believe that they will find him. I have to believe there are enough cameras and high-tech equipment out there to catch this guy. If not, I don't know what to tell you, but I believe he will be caught. I got to leave it there for a second. Charlie Kirk's life will not be lost in vain. That's what I'm telling you. Speak up, be heard, be a proud American today on 9/11. It's not an easy day, I'll tell you that. It's an emotional day. I've only ever gotten emotional doing this job a couple of times in 30-plus years. Yesterday was one, today is another, so I guess I've doubled my time. President Donald Trump became close friends with Charlie Kirk. In fact, I saw them both together. I stood and talked to them both together during a TPUSA event in Detroit last year. Last time I saw those two together. The president in the Oval Office last night had this to say.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense.
The simple words of common sense. Charlie Kirk was assassinated for being an American. When I come back, Colonel Rob Mayus will join me. It's the Steve Gruber Show. September the 11th, 2025. You're looking live at New York City. The 9/11 Memorial. My next guest was originally scheduled to talk about 9/11. We were going to spend most of the day talking and reflecting and looking back 24 years at the attacks on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and the flight that crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That, of course, before the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. on a college campus in Utah yesterday. Shocking. I don't know what 1968 felt like. I was too young. But I'm guessing it didn't feel too much differently than I feel today. Rob Mayus joins me, retired Air Force Colonel. Colonel, nice to have you here today.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Charlie Kirk was my colleague and my friend. I've gotten to know him over the last several years, as a lot of us have. And to see him brutally gunned down by an assassin's bullet is gut-wrenching. It's painful. It makes me, well, I've cried, I won't lie. But it makes me really angry too, Rob. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the tough, hard-shelled warrior in me doesn't cry very often. And I cried last night. My 16-year-old grandson called me, and he's an avid follower of Charlie. And, Charlie should know, and he does know now, and probably knew while he was still on Earth. He has created more than one generation of Americans, men and women, that understand what Americanism is and understand why it's important to fight for the ideas in the Constitution of the United States, the ideas, Declaration of Independence. It's important to go to places where you are not welcome, speak to people that hate those ideas and maybe even hate you. And Charlie chose college campuses. I met him when we first entered the political arena. I think he was still a teenager, 2013. And the thing that I really admired about him, even though I'm 2 years older than I think, is that he lived a life of courage. He had the courage to go to those college campuses, and that's where he died, Steve. He died at home where he started this, and his human life may have come to an end, but his legacy will never end. These young men and women, just talked to my son that's about to turn 21 as he went out the door this morning to go to a funeral for a friend of his grandparents, and they are determined. They are resolved to stay in this, like Charlie Kirk set the example for them. The other thing, and most importantly about Charlie, Steve, is he was a Christian example to be followed, even for people older than him like me. I really admired the example he set as a Christian. When he became a husband and a father, he was not only setting an example for people admired him for the balance that he tried so ardently to achieve between the critically important work for this country that he was doing and his family, and being a good dad and being a good husband and following Christ and witnessing to people about Jesus Christ, both through his example, his deeds, and his words. And can't ask for anything better than as far as anger, I'm angry too. They killed him because he was effective. That's why
they killed him, because he was an American. And he believed in the foundational truth of America, in freedom of speech and expression. And he would debate anybody, Colonel. That was who he was, who he always shall be. But I think you've touched on something we've been talking about here today. I think millions of Charlie Kirks have been created because of this heinous act. I believe that students in lecture halls across America will no longer be cowed into silence when they hear a professor spewing garbage. I don't think that people will sit quietly and let the left run wild I don't think that they will sit there quietly and just let these people try to indoctrinate them and hate this country. I believe that we have had a galvanizing moment at a terrible cost. But Charlie Kirk will be raised up, and he will be remembered by millions. We're watching this trend on social media today of people that were lifelong Democrats leaving the party today to go register as Republicans today. This is the direct effect. And for other young people that I've talked to, this is the direct effect, Colonel. They've seen enough. They've had enough. Thoughts?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And more Charlie Kirks he created than are even probably living today. Charlie was a little boy on 9/11, and he is one of the people that fully understands the challenge of the war against Americanism and Americans like him by the Islamist Marxist intersection that we have that is currently inside this country that we must continue to work to defeat, Steve. And that's why those numbers of these kids that are growing up and being changed, and not just kids, but adults. Look, Tyler Bauer at Turning Point USA, I hope continues the organization. I'm 100% sure it will. He's a fighter. He should know that people like you, me, Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec, anybody that has the ability to talk will volunteer to help that organization and continue to reach young people and to continue to face down these monsters like the person who did this to Charlie, these monsters that are enabling people to leave the Democrat Party, and these monsters that have now energized all of us. I want to go down the street to the closest college campus right now and set up a tent and put a table under it and say, I'm here
Prove
for
me
Turning
wrong.
Point.
Prove
That's
me wrong, like it said on the tent yesterday. Rob Mayus, retired Air Force Colonel. Colonel, I always appreciate you being here. Our work has just begun here, Colonel. I think you're exactly right. I think it has empowered young people, people of faith, people that believe in America. Our work is just beginning. Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie Kirk, 31 years old. He was 18 years old, by the way, when he started Turning Point USA. 18 years old. Then he was gunned down in cold blood, felled by an assassin's bullet for speaking his truth and speaking from the heart. I'll be right back.
Pregnant?
A day of political violence discussions. The 24th anniversary of 9/11 and the assassination of 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, on a Utah campus yesterday. It seems to me that many of the folks on the left have lost their way. Yesterday, in Congress, on the floor of the House of Representatives, it was asked for a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. The Democrats refused. They mocked. They screamed. Something is clearly wrong with a large group of people in this country, but that group's getting smaller today. When you target people unfairly for their political beliefs, you've lost your way in America. Derek Wilczynski is here. He's an attorney and partner at Blanco Wilczynski and the lawyer for Stan Grott. He's one of the 15 electors that has now been dismissed from any further action because he was one of the alternate electors. Derek, thank you for being here today. I know it's a difficult day. I know your timing is tough, but your case is very important because it's another example of the Democrats trying to weaponize an attack on people for their political beliefs and doing what they thought was their civic duty.
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for having me. And this is a tough day. I'd like to start out by giving my prayers to the Kirk family. That was beyond belief what happened yesterday. And listen, I will tell you something. My son is 17 years old. I didn't think he was political at all. I didn't think he paid attention to these things, but he was shaken up by what happened to Charlie. I didn't even know that my son knew who he was. So that's the kind of reach that Charlie had. You are absolutely right, though. The left has weaponized not just politics, but all forms of public life. That's exactly what happened in my case. I represented one of the Republican electors back in the 2020 campaign who presented an alternate slate of electors. And the ironic thing about all that, Steve, is that they did everything above board. They were public about it. They were honest about it. And our judge, who was fantastic, I have to give thanks to her and her staff for having a complicated case made simple. But she basically said that the First Amendment protected everybody from prosecution in this case, and that all they were doing was exercising their First Amendment rights. It was shameful that our Attorney General brought this case and continued to prosecute it.
Let me ask you about that. It seems that your Attorney General still wants to call the people criminals that have been released by Judge Simmons, right? She came out with a scathing series of comments. So my question to you, I've asked a couple of the others, and I'll now ask you, do you intend to follow through with civil action, potentially criminal action? Because I know that some of the other people that were released by the judge in this case believe that they have been libeled by Dana Nessel.
I'll say this. I don't want to make a comment until the appeal period runs. The Attorney General still has, I think, 19 days left to decide whether she wants to appeal. So we're going to withhold comment on that until that appeal period runs.
But clearly, it's a possibility because I found her, I think you could weigh in on this. I found Dana Nessel's comments after the fact to be shameful. Absolutely shameful. I mean, that's akin to, and one of your fellow attorneys said this, David Coleman, yesterday on the program. He said, it's like being acquitted of murder and having the prosecutor call you a murderer anyway because they don't care what the outcome is. Does she lose qualified immunity for that? I mean, does she step beyond her protection as the Attorney General if she, defamed and libeled people?
No, I think there's a good case to be made for it. There's no doubt. I think qualified immunity is overbroad anyway, and this may be a good test case for it, Steve, but you're absolutely right. The Attorney General in the state acted shamefully, continues to act shamefully, and wasted the taxpayers' time, money, and effort on another case. This is like the Rick Snyder case or the Antrim County case. These cases fail because our attorney general is just not competent. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not talking about her lieutenant who tried the case, or I had the exam on the case, and we didn't go to trial. She was fine. She was great to work with. But when you get direction from up top that's completely motivated by politics and by lawfare and by trying to actually harm people, I think you lose qualified immunity and you're opening yourself up to a civil suit.
I think that you're exactly right. I think that is exactly right, Derek. All right, so congratulations, big win. I'm surprised, this will be the last thing, I'm surprised it took 2.5 years to get to the proper outcome, but at least you got there. The judge seemed to be, and I heard a lot of good things about this judge from everybody in the courtroom. But why did it take so long?
Well, keep in mind, Steve, we started out with 16 defendants, and we one of them was dismissed, so we ended up with 15. That's a lot of people to juggle, and there were, I think at last count, I was like 47,000 pages of evidence that we had to sift through. That just takes time. It takes time. We all had to order transcripts after the preliminary exam. I cannot blame the judge for that. I cannot blame the attorneys.
Fair enough.
I can't blame the assistant attorney general who was involved in this case. It just takes time.
Fair enough. Derek, I appreciate you being here. Tough duty today, but it's an important case about politics in America that changed again yesterday forever. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate you. We'll take a break. Remembering 9/11 24 years on, and the life of Charlie Kirk, cut short by an assassin in Utah yesterday. I'll be back. You know, I look at some of the hateful rhetoric here online, and I'm shocked by it. I am shocked by it. Whole bunch of folks are going to find out they're unemployed today. Let's see, DC Comics just canceled Gretchen Felker Martin. I don't know who that is. She created a cartoon called Red Hood. She celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination yesterday. She's been fired after one issue. A United States Marine, Jacoby Williamson, he's been fired. In the EU, they asked for a moment of silence there. The far-left chair of the EU Parliament blocked the moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. You see, they're the same everywhere. In Congress yesterday, they asked for a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, and the Democrats shouted them down. They have no humanity. I shouldn't say all of them. I have Democrat friends. I have Democrat friends my entire life. These are not Democrats. These are far-left extremists, hate mongers, people that have lost their humanity and lost their way, I might add. And my anger is building. And don't you worry, by the time we get here tomorrow, I'll have moved on to the next phase of this process. And people like Matthew Dowd and these others will be held accountable. Van Jones will be held accountable, all of them, for their hateful rhetoric. I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show. God bless America. I'll be back. You're looking live at the 9/11 Memorial, New York City. 24 years, excuse me, after the attacks on the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, Flight 93, Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And the day after the voice of a generation, Charlie Kirk, was silenced by an assassin's bullet. Gunned down in front of more than 2,000 young people, Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah. Charlie Kirk will live on, not just in the hearts and minds of the millions of people he affected, both young and old, but he will live on indeed. And what I mean by that is this. Charlie Kirk will get more views today on social media talking about the gospel, talking about the Constitution, talking about politics and religion and relationships. Charlie Kirk will get more views today than on any day during his lifetime. Guaranteed. His wisdom will be shared. Wisdom beyond his young 31 years. His wisdom will be shared because people will listen today in a way they didn't before. I know because I've seen it happening in my own house already today. Prove me wrong. His life may have been cut short, but his legacy has been solidified for all time. My heart breaks for his wife and 2 small children. My heart breaks for my friend who was cut down by an assassin's bullet for being an American, for speaking his mind, for being honest about who he is and what he believed. He fought with words, not with weapons. He fought with words. He fought for his beliefs in the American dream, which he said was to get married and have kids and allow those kids to ride their bikes until the sun set. Because Charlie believed in this country and the greatness of this country and the promise of this country. He founded Turning Point USA when he was 18 years old. He grew that into one of the most influential political movements in American history. And I have heard countless stories already of his assassination moving people to his column, moving people to the American column. That's what's happening today. The rejection of leftist ideology, the rejection of vile political rhetoric, hateful behavior that resulted in Republicans being gunned down at a baseball game 8 years ago, that led to 2 assassination attempts on President Donald Trump, one that was within a fraction of an inch of changing American history forever, that has led to the assassination of the voice of a generation. This will not frighten people. This will invigorate people. Students will feel empowered to stand up in lecture halls now and say, no more. We're not buying your leftist nonsense anymore. We believe in America. We believe in the promise of America, the future of America, the American dream. We believe in this country. We will no longer sit silently while you malign this country, run this country down, attack people, and murder people because they have a different opinion. It was a seminal day. Charlie Kirk being assassinated will amplify his voice to a place it had never been before, and it was already loud. Believe me when I tell you, more people will listen to Charlie Kirk today than during any day of his lifetime. They will download his videos. They will listen to his back and forth. They will see his tours on college campuses. They will listen to Charlie Kirk today in a way they never have previously. The Google searches, the questions, the YouTube videos will be watched today more than they have ever been watched before. Because if they didn't know Charlie before, they know him now. I had the good fortune of being friends with the man, of seeing him on numerous occasions, my children having met him. The world has lost a warrior for Christ and for freedom, but his voice will only be amplified. His voice will only be amplified. And for those who are beyond the contempt, for those who thought it appropriate to put vile comments on social media, enjoy that vacuum of a soul and enjoy unemployment. Many will find their way to the unemployment line before this sun sets today, as they should. Where is your humanity? Where in God's name is your humanity? Don't worry, the anger is coming. I spent this day celebrating Charlie for the most part. By tomorrow, we're going to shift gears and name names. Matthew Dowd got fired. That is one bit of good news. Matthew Dowd, who suggested maybe it was just a Charlie Kirk fan firing off a gun to celebrate Charlie being there. Matthew Dowd, who suggested that Charlie Kirk deserved his assassination for the things that he said. And MSNBC, at least they were able to figure out that maybe this guy shouldn't be on staff anymore. No kidding. Look around the room, it's a good start, but there's a lot more that should be shown the exit as well. I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show on 9/11. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk, the father, for a moment. A man with 2 young children and a wife who believed in the sanctity of marriage and family. We've got a little montage here of Charlie Kirk, the father. Watch.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace.
How you cannot be affected by that is beyond me. How hateful voices on the internet could attack that is beyond me. Where is your humanity? Where is your decency? When asked for a moment of silence on the floor of the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. yesterday, the Democrats screamed no and shouted it down. Where is your decency? Charlie Kirk on What is a Woman with college students. This is why people hated him. Because he spoke the truth, his truth, the truth. Listen.
What is a woman?
That's a stupid question, dude. That's a dumb question.
What is a woman? It's not a trick question. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
You can't answer the question with the question. Yeah, define the woman without saying woman.
It's a social role.
You're in college, paying for an education. What is a woman?
How about you talk to someone with media training? How about you talk to someone
You don't need media training. It's not a trick. What is a woman? You can't answer the question with the... It's the college kids of America going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt who think it's a trick question when you ask them what a woman is.
It's frightening, isn't it? They think it's a trick question to ask, what is a woman? What about common ground on reparations with a black student? You see, Charlie was not afraid to go in and talk any conversation with anybody at any time and have that discussion. Listen.
You know, how do you feel about the black community receiving reparations?
I'm against that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why so?
So here's my view, and I want to hear yours,
Okay.
which is that I did not own slaves, and you were not a slave.
Correct.
Right. So we are individuals, and therefore we cannot be held accountable or should receive something from something that didn't happen to us or something we did not do. Basically, what you're saying is I'm going to take money from Charlie Kirk for something he didn't do, and give it to a group of something to somebody of something they also didn't do. For what reason? How is that just? So what is a way that we could try to help all communities? Here's maybe we can find some common ground,
Sure,
right?
I'm listening.
Instead of reparations.
Sure.
Is that we need to break the cartel of public sector teacher unions and make it easier for people of all backgrounds, but specifically Hispanic and black individuals, to have a quality education. Secondly, we need to put fathers back in the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If we can find common ground on that, I think that would go a lot further than just giving cash for people that happen to be related to something evil that happened a little while ago.
Or a long time ago. Said on this program for a very long time, we need more fathers. We need more dads in this country. It's been a common theme of this program for 15 years. He's right about that. Charlie Kirk, common sense. Common sense. What about students about college and being entitled to college? Here's Charlie on that.
How much debt do you have to go to school, by the way?
None.
Okay, wow. Are you on scholarship or?
Yeah.
So who's paying for your college then?
Probably the federal government.
Okay, so I'm paying for your college, is what you're saying. This is why you're so defensive of college, because you don't have to walk around the rest of your life with a $100,000 student loan debt. Defensive of college.
I pay taxes.
You think you pay anywhere close to the tuition value you get at the school? Probably not.
Probably I do.
How much is it to go to school here?
Room, board, tuition, all of it's around $11,000.
$11,000 a semester. So you pay $22,000 a year in taxes?
No.
Okay, got it. That's fine. I'm not faulting you for it, but this is why you're so defensive, is you're detached from the price. It's easy to be defensive of something you're not paying for.
You're detached from the price. You're divorced from reality. You're divorced from reality. How about, we have time for this? Let me see here. Yeah, we've got time. President Trump says it's time for the political violence in the wake of Charlie's assassination to stop. Here he is.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. It's a long...
And it must stop right now. I don't know that it will. For people that do this, for people that do what I do, there's a dangerous faction out there willing to target us with violence. Is it open season on conservatives? Hell no. We will stand up, and I will be right back. I sit there and I look at that image of the memorial of Charlie Kirk. Just stunning to me. Heartbreaking, angering. Later today at noon, I've been asked to fill in for the late Charlie Kirk, beginning at noon on Real America's Voice. An honor in under terrible circumstances. Here's another comment from President Trump on violence in America.
Administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God.
Yeah. On 9/11, we sit here as they're gathered in New York to mark 24 years since that fateful day. In less than 24 hours. Since the voice of a generation was silenced by a coward's bullet. You will not silence Charlie Kirk. Like I said, more people will hear Charlie Kirk speak today than at any day during his life. I guarantee it. And I'll be right back. Back at it now on 9/11. Reflecting as you see the people gathered in New York City. And reflecting on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Still no suspect in custody, I should say. No suspect in custody today. we'll keep you posted as we follow the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I would hope with our high-tech resources and the abilities we have in law enforcement that a suspect could be taken into custody soon. 2 people were taken in and questioned and released. Meanwhile, Democrats in Michigan playing politics. By the way, they asked for a moment of silence in the state house yesterday. 2 Democrats refused to stand, and it appeared as if they were sitting there snickering. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way it appeared. At any rate, Dave Preston is a Republican from Cedar River, state rep, joining me now. Dave, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Was I mistaken? Did I see 2 Democrats sitting there snickering in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
To tell you the truth, when we were standing, I had my head down. We were having a moment of silence and prayer, and I did not look over to that side. I don't know that they were doing anything disrespectful. I know them both, and it just, that because they're in the Democrat Party doesn't mean that they're evil people. And at this time, I can't really comment on what their motive was and what their distraction was.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So meanwhile, we do not have a budget put together, and time is running out here in Michigan. There is other news today that we do need to cover, and that is the budget of Michigan. It looks like the Democrats want to shut the government down, and if they do, I say, will I even notice?
Well, there's a feeling of incrementalism that's giving me a little bit of hope. The Senate was steadfast against any type of a roads funding package to the tune of right around $3 billion. And just lately, we've heard that the Senate has started to embrace the idea of a roads package. A lot of the budget negotiations is going to revolve around this roads funding package. And, I'm hopeful that, especially an event like what happened over the last 3 days, starts to wake people up and take them out of this hyper-partisan position that this nation has seemed to find itself in, and start to talk in good faith, because the people need unity. They need a sense of purpose, and we need to move on and do the work that we're here to do.
I agree with that. What would it look like? Apparently, the state government of Michigan has shut down a couple of times, once for 2 hours, once for 4 hours, back in like 2008 or 9. Honestly, I don't remember it. I don't think anybody remembers it. I don't remember the state government ever shutting down. What would it look like? What would it mean? Would state parks are closed? I mean, what services like police and fire? They're never affected by this sort of thing. What would it mean?
Well, we early in the session, we passed an emergency funding mechanism that is still sitting in the Senate chamber and could be passed to backfill and fund all essential services across the state should there be a shutdown. We did that under the thought that there may be a push on the Senate side to advocate for a shutdown, and we wanted to get ahead of that. We have been at the table seeking negotiation, seeking common ground with the Senate to try to get a platform, a thought process together where we can all come together towards a bipartisan budgetary solution that both the governor, the Senate, and the House can agree to. We continue that effort. That being said, we are prepared in case the worst case happens. That funding mechanism is sitting in the Senate. And if the government does shut down, at the end of the day, the executive, Governor Whitmer, has the ability to decide what gets shut down and what does not. So I move forward very cautiously optimistic that we will find common ground and we will do the right thing for the state of Michigan.
I hope we do. It's time to find some common ground in this country, isn't it? I mean, yes. I sit here on 9/11 and I sit here shell-shocked. I don't know how else to put it.
You're right. So much has happened over just these last 3 days. That horrific incident on the subway, Yesterday with Charlie Kirk, and today with the memories of 9/11. This has been 3 days of trauma for the country, and it needs to stop. It does. It needs to stop. Everybody needs to take the temperature down.
I agree with that, Dave. I do. But it seems to me I don't remember outspoken leftists getting gunned down. It doesn't come to mind for me. I don't remember assassination attempts on Kamala Harris. I remember assassination attempts on Donald Trump. I saw Charlie Kirk get brutally assassinated in front of 2,000 or more college kids in Utah yesterday. We all saw it.
So many of us champion critical thought, and just pushing away from groupthink. And Charlie was one of them. And when I look at my daughter, who's in college right now, and there are so many kids that look to Charlie Kirk and others like him that gave them a voice where they felt they didn't have one, or gave them a voice where they felt they couldn't speak up. People like that are incredibly important to this new generation. I said a long time ago as a paramedic through COVID that COVID was going to wake up a sleeping giant in our youth that were stuck at home, that were denied their scholarships, that were denied their sports opportunities. And it was going to show them exactly what government run amok could do to their lives. And I think we're seeing that right now. And the other side is in a spiral that they know they can't get out of. And what does anything do when it's cornered? It lashes out in the most violent way. And I think that's what we witnessed yesterday. Kids are waking up to the reality of what government, runaway government, can do to their lives, can do to their families, can do to their hopes, dreams, and aspirations.
Very well said, Dave. And I do believe people are waking up. For a lot of folks that were not particularly political 24 hours ago, they got a very cold slap of reality yesterday. And I think it's going to be a moment that changes American history. Dave, thank you for being here.
Agreed. Thank you, Steve.
We'll take a break. When I come back, Ivy will be back with us as we round out this day and try to make sense of the senseless. Try to make sense of somebody being murdered for their thoughts, comments, for exercising their free will as an American, to be gunned down in front of thousands. I'll be right back. All right, let me give you the latest here on this day, 9/11. The Charlie Kirk assassination suspect still on the loose as the manhunt is intensifying. They do have video, but it's a person dressed all in black, faces covered, and it's security footage, as you can imagine. Taken from closed-circuit TV on campus as well. They're analyzing it. Right now, they don't have much more than that. The Utah Department of Public Safety said that Charlie Kirk, after being shot, was rushed to Panagos Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Shooting still an active investigation, and I think we're all still observing the gut punch that this day has delivered. Ivy's back with me, Ivy. It doesn't seem to, there are no answers here. There are no answers. Charlie Kirk was murdered for having a position that people disagreed with, for being a Christian, for being an American, and for exercising his constitutional rights. He was murdered in front of thousands of kids at a college campus in Utah.
As I reflect on my feelings over the last 24-hour period, the only other time that I can recall feeling like this was witnessing the plane hitting the second tower, watching in horror as you just can't explain what happened. You know, the first hit of the plane hitting the first tower, you wondered, was it an accident? What the heck happened? How could this be? And then realizing in with the second impact of who would do this? Why would they do this? The amount of lives lost. And I think anyone who is old enough to remember can remember where they are, where they were that day, what they did, how they felt. And I can't help but relate that to yesterday with social media now. You have all of this ability to see things that happen. You know, it's not like the media can control what you see or limit what you see because of how graphic it is. And when you see that bullet hit Charlie, our colleague, you kind of wish you never saw it. And he stood for faith, his love for God. He loved this country. I think he truly loved people. He wanted to change people's minds, to make their life better by showing them the way, showing them the truth that through God you can be loved and healed, and that this place in America is like no other, rooted in faith since our founding.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a turning point for many people in America. And the amount of vitriol and hatefulness, I mean, I think that it's a good thing for us all to see how hateful and evil people can be. And I just pray that we can be strong and carry the torch.
I think you speak for a lot of people today who have deep hurt deep hurt, who witnessed that horrific assassination, who are trying to make sense of the senseless. But I will tell you, all of you, we will not be cowed into silence. We will be empowered. We will speak up when we see what we think needs to be said.
Stand for truth.
We will stand for truth. We will stand for Christ the same way that Charlie did. We will not back down from our opinions, no matter who might be offended. We will defend this country. We will respect religion and the free exercise thereof, and of speech and of the press, and the right of the people to peaceably assemble. I do believe that Charlie Kirk's voice is louder today than it was yesterday. And I believe that his legacy of Turning Point USA will be carried forward. Tough day, Ivy. I appreciate you being here as always.
And thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you for your thoughts.
Yes.
Love you.
I love you.
We'll take a moment. We'll be right back. Tired of hard Live pictures of New York City at the memorial for 9/11, 24 years later. And less than 24 hours after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the voice of a generation, a young man, 31, newly married, 2 kids, who was a devout Christian who said, I am nothing without Jesus. I'm going to leave you with one last Charlie Kirk comment about Jesus, his faith, and why he believed so deeply. We remember Charlie Kirk today. Here he is.
Are you a Christian by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There is not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the greatest miracle.